and welcome back to yet another episode of On The Grid Podcast, Season 3, Episode 17 today. I'm your host, Adrian, once again joined by my co-host, Ethan Evans. Ethan, first and foremost, how are you? Race week is back.
I'm good, yeah. It's felt like a while since the last race, actually. It's felt longer than just over a week, but yeah, race week once again, and it's a good one. Canada to look forward to.
One of your favourite tracks, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yes, it is.
He loves it on the F1 game, by the way. He absolutely rinses the hell out of Canada. He's like, can we do Canada? Can we do Canada? He loves it. And joining us, special guest, I would like to say it's been an absolute dream to have this guy on. And he's back, the co-inventor of On The Grid Podcast, Harvey Todd. Harvey, long time no see, my friend. How are you?
He's going all right. It's nice to be back. That's the main thing. Yeah, I don't think we've actually spoken since Max won his second title, which is a long time ago. But yeah, it's been an awful long time, but good to be back.
Good to be back indeed. Good to have you back on the podcast as a special guest. And I think what better way to kind of kickstart off the episode and just to talk about the start of the season so far. Obviously, Red Bull fan in the building, a Mercedes and a Ferrari fan also in the building. But I think you're the happy out of the three of us. Max is in a commanding lead at the front of a drivers' championship, and so are Red Bull in the constructors. You must be feeling very confident, yet probably a little bit bored at the lack of the sheer dominance of a Red Bull this season.
Yeah, you couldn't have put it better, to be honest. I mean, it would have been 2021 season one, so it was when I was like craving this Red Bull domination after so many years of enduring the Mercedes domination. But I don't know. I think what's making it a bit dull is that there's a lack of competition. Like the start of last season was brilliant because you had Ferrari there, and towards the end of 2021, didn't particularly enjoy it because it was just too stressful. But sort of like the start of last year was really nice because there was a good bit of competition, but you were still like up there most of the time on that top step. Whereas now, sort of since last year's summer break, it's just been a bit, you could probably count on one hand the races that have been non-Red Bull victories, which is great that we're dominant again. But again, it's just the lack of competition that's just like, just makes every race just boring. But apart from that, it's great. The Dutch national anthem, it's a bop.
Well, you're most likely going to hear the Dutch national anthem once again in Canada. As I expect, probably Max Verstappen will win the race once again. Ethan, Harvey briefly mentioned the Mercedes dominance there. We're enduring a bit of a Red Bull dominance era at the moment. But do you think the Red Bulls can replicate the Mercedes dominance era? Are you scared that it could reach that point of so many consecutive years where Red Bull are just topping every single championship?
Yes, to put it bluntly. Mercedes look like they seem to be gathering a bit of momentum at the minute with their new upgrades, but that's not going to come into effect for like a year. So maybe next season they can challenge, but this season it looks as if Red Bull could get 23 wins, which is a very scary prospect. And it looks like about 19 of those are going to go to Verstappen. But yeah, they just seem such a well-oiled machine. Everyone knows their roles. They've got probably the one of the best aerodynamicists. That's the hard word to say. Ever in Adrian. They've got a team principal who knows everything from top to bottom, and he's been there for almost 20 years now. So it's a very scary prospect. And then you add in such a great driver in Verstappen. It makes it difficult, and I think that's where part of the fear comes from, or part of the boringness comes from, in the fact that Verstappen's winning every race by 20 seconds and he's not even pushing. So yeah, it's definitely something to worry about. But then you've got, as I said, you've got Mercedes on the up, hopefully. Aston Martin seem to have a good car and they have a lot of wind tunnel time. Ferrari, you would have thought they would get it together at some point. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, for this season, it's just a complete write-off already.
You two can be optimistic about us getting things together, but I definitely am not. I've wrote this season off as game, set, and match. I don't think we're getting anywhere close, but that might be just my pessimistic side coming out. But jumping straight into a bit of news, obviously we had Imola cancelled a few weeks back, and F1, the FIA, and obviously all our organisation has come together to auction off the winners' trophies. That's P1, P2, P3, and the constructors' trophy to raise money for the Faenza efforts due to the floodings, etc., in that region. Raising close to £250,000 for that area, which is quite good to see. Harvey, we obviously we don't necessarily see F1 coming together as a whole very often, but I think in times of need where obviously the race was cancelled and the people of the Faenza area were affected so much due to the floodings, it's good to see that F1 and the FIA have come together to a conclusion where they're going to raise money to help the victims of the floodings.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best way of doing that is to auction off some memorabilia. I wouldn't call it a win-win because it's a horrible situation, but you sort of, F1 want to raise the money, which they've done really, really well. And then you've got the other side, you get some, very wealthy F1 fans that get some really cool memorabilia. It's done across the sporting world, and I think it's great what they've done.
Ethan, what are your thoughts on the shall I say in quotation marks fundraising efforts from F1 and the FIA?
Yeah, I completely agree with Harvey. To be honest, I don't think Formula One could do a little bit more in that aspect. They haven't. They're not renowned for this sort of thing. So it's nice to see a change. And then at a time of need when you have a lot of struggle going on in that area to raise a lot of money in that department. So I think, it can only be a good thing. And, hopefully this can occur in a little bit more often.
Harvey, you have something to add on to that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that other motorsport categories have done really well for a while. I know MotoGP do a lot with Riders for Health, which is a similar thing. It's every year at Silverstone and similar events they auction off a whole host. Like there's an auction for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours, where riders donate boots, knee sliders, helmets, all sorts, and they raise loads and loads of money for places in Africa and stuff like that, which is brilliant. It's nice to see F1 doing similar. It would be nice again if they did it a little bit more regularly.
Maybe we could see it at Silverstone, where the three of us will be at very soon. Very, very soon. Obviously, we'll keep you updated on what we're going to do and the plan for Silverstone. We're all excited to be going, and we can't wait for that to come around. Harvey, what else have you got to add?
I will not be voting. I will not be not voting. Bidding. That was the word I'm looking for. I will not be bidding on anything because I cannot afford.
Yeah, I can't really afford £250,000 either, so I won't be bidding on any first place trophies for £250,000.
I might just about have enough for a Max Verstappen tear off. I reckon that has set me back. If it's race used, 150. I reckon that's setting me back.
Oh God!
But it's for a good cause. Probably could, it's a good cause.
Well, you guys will have to stay updated on what will happen with Harvey Todd's Max Verstappen tear-off fetish in the coming weeks. But moving on to our next topic in our news section, Fernando Alonso, quite a feisty admission he made in his post-race interview that the Spanish GP will be his final race without a podium. Harvey, how true do you think that will be? And do you think that the fire has been lit for Fernando Alonso, especially after not doing particularly well at his home race?
Yeah, I think it will. I think he will do it. The thing is, it's all lining up nicely for him. He had a difficult weekend last time out, and he said last week. Last time out, he had a difficult weekend, and I think he'll bounce back this weekend. I think it'll be... Because Aston Martin really are the sort of best of the rest, aren't they? Well, I'll say Aston Martin more so Alonso, but I think if everything goes their way, he stays out of trouble, turn one and all that carnage that normally happens early on, if he can keep it nice and clean, I think he'll have a pretty smooth race because the gaps just sort of open out, especially towards the front of the pack. There's not a lot that happens.
Ethan, another man that looks to be tied down for yet another season in Formula One, potentially lighting another fire. fire in his belly potentially. Lewis Hamilton, new contract potentially on the table for him with Mercedes for yet another season. Do you think the next season could potentially be the one where Lewis Hamilton strikes again? His look changes, the car under him is a better one, and he could challenge for the title. I know it's a little bit too early to tell, but do you think that this season, well, next season kind of has to be the season where he gets it spot on?
No, I don't think it does have to be. It has to be next season or never. I don't want to say, next season a title charge push, but it depends on how these updates work out. Mercedes are a long way behind Red Bull in terms of development time, so they have to understand the concept of the car. They have to then manufacture the parts, and then they have to put it on, and then they have to make sure they work and all of that. So they're a good 6 months, 12 months behind Red Bull, who understand this concept and have been developing actively on it. And now they're just basically fine tuning and trying to find small performance upgrades. So not necessarily. However, if towards the end of the season, if Mercedes and Hamilton can start to win a few races, or maybe, secure themselves as, for definite, the second best team, then that will be a very good step in the right direction. And maybe we can start to dream about it over the winter break. But for now, I'm going to say stay quite skeptical. I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest, and I'm not going to say anything.
I'm going to jump in. I don't think it'll happen. I think he'll sign a new deal, but I think in terms of race wins, I think he's done. But obviously that's me with my hat on. Of course, I don't tend to give him a lot of credit, but I think all he's got left in the tank is podiums now. I think it's been proven that his level of performance hasn't been as it was. Granted, car could probably be better, but even still in an equal car, Russell's got the better of him, on multiple occasions over the past 12 months since they've been teammates. Yes, I know, tin hat on, but yeah, I don't think he'll do it because I think Red Bull are just too strong. And it says a lot as well when you've got to rely, because we saw Brazil, I'm not saying Russell flukes it, but there was a lot that went wrong for Max that weekend. And I think the only way, basically, you've got to rely on Red Bull having some bad luck to get a win. And I think it goes for anyone, not just Mercedes or Hamilton.
I have to disagree on that one. I have to disagree in the start of the statement. Okay, I'm just saying.
Right. Before you two jump at each other's throats, you have to kind of agree to disagree. I think I disagree with the first part of the statement where you say Harvey's saying Lewis Hamilton's finished with race wins. I think Lewis Hamilton has at least a couple of race wins still in that locker. He's still, let's not forget, joint highest for World Championship wins, the most race wins, the most podiums. Let's not forget all the records that he has. Yes, Max is the upcoming star, the poster boy, whatever you want to call him. Yes, he is. The second part of the statement, I would agree. Currently, we do have this kind of, like we said at the start of the episode, the Red Bull dominance era, where we're kind of expecting a Red Bull slip up for somebody else to win. So I think agree to disagree, and let's rock and roll. Let's see what the future brings for Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. But moving kind of swiftly on to Canada and talking about the Canadian Grand Prix. Obviously, it is Lance Stroll's home race, and it was kind of under threat, to be fair, because of the forest fires that were happening over there, which seemed to be cooled down a little bit. And it looks like the race will go ahead. But Ethan, was there any doubt in your mind when you kind of saw the images, especially from New York, due to the forest fires, where you kind of seen an orange haze looming down on New York, especially? Was there any doubt that in your mind that the Canadian Grand Prix could have got cancelled? I would probably say during this week break, where it's kind of died down a little bit more.
I have to be honest, I didn't really put two and two together, to be honest. I never really thought about the implications on the F1, but now you mention it, it's a good point. I'm not sure how much at risk it was, though. I think Vancouver is where, or Montreal, Vancouver is where the race is, which is on the west coast of Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to crucify my geography if I've got that wrong. But I think it's on the west coast of Canada, and I know a lot of the forest fires have been happening towards the east side, as you said about the haze seen in, the US, in New York and Washington, etc. So I'm not sure how much at risk it was, but it's still good to see that it's sort of died down a little bit now, and it's not as it's not at the rate it was going at before.
Then Harvey, talking about Lance Stroll, obviously this is the race where expectations will be on your shoulders gigantically to perform in a rapid car in front of your home fans. He's expected to finish in I'd probably say the top 5, top 6 at least by his fans. But do you think that is likely to happen? Do you think the Canadian fans are likely to be let down by another Lance Stroll disaster class?
I'll be honest, I think he'll crash in quali. And yeah, I think those Canadian fans with their LS18 flags, t-shirts, jackets, if it's raining, might be raining, I don't know, I haven't checked the forecast, but yeah, they'll be leaving slightly disappointed. I think for Lance Stroll, it's one of them where he's really got to do well this weekend, because you look at how Alonso started, and I mean, Stroll, given his injury at Bahrain, was good, but he hasn't really kicked on from that. It's sort of gone backwards a little bit, so he needs to, it's a perfect opportunity for him to get his season going, but he's got to take it with two hands. He can't fumble this one.
Well, if you would like me to give you a bit of a weather update, I've just had a look at the weather in Montreal, and Friday and Saturday it does not look brilliant. It showed me scattered thunderstorms in Montreal, with an 80% chance of rain in the area. And on the Sunday, there are expected to be some rain showers. So potentially it could be an all-wet Canadian Grand Prix weekend, which is quite exciting. I think the weather that we had last year, the wet quali was quite fun, but then obviously we had the all dry, I think it was Sunday. So this weekend it might be a little bit different. Harvey, you've got something to say once again.
You do realise we won't have a race if there's more than 5 minutes of rain?
Because... I mean, what did we see in 2011? How many times have a red flag come out and we still got that race finished?
But the thing is, times have moved on, and it just, obviously safety's paramount, all of that. But I don't know, these are the best drivers in the world. I want to see them tested in some difficult conditions. And it's a bit of a shame, because we have missed out on some potential crackers because they haven't been allowed to race. And it is a bit of a concern that, at the moment there's more than 2 millimeters of rain. It gets called off. But yeah, like I say, safety is paramount, but at times it does frustrate fans that want some good action.
I'm just going to say let them race. Just let them do their thing. But the FIA and F1 are obviously always on the case and looking at ways to kind of tackle the weather and whatnot. Why can't you just stick them on wet weather tyres? They're there for a reason, right? They need to be used, and sometimes the FIA can't pull the plug, and they're a little bit indecisive in their decisions. But let's have a kind of reminisce back on some of our favourite Canadian Grand Prix over the past decade or so, or 20 years. Ethan, what has been your favourite race? Is it Jenson Button's 2011? Is it Lewis Hamilton's 2007? Those probably stick in your memory the best, but which one would it be if you from your choice?
For me, it's quite easy. It's 2011 Canadian Grand Prix. How many red flags? What, it was about 6 or 7. Jenson Button last had 2 or 3 crashes, got a couple of penalties, and just the expertise in the wet. A great drive, and on the last lap, what was it? The second chicane, is it? I think it's like turn 5, turn 6. Vettel goes offline a tiny bit, makes a mistake, and then Button can just sail through, grab the victory. And it was a great race. A lot of drama, and I think almost a Nico Hulkenberg podium in there. One of the many times he almost got a podium but didn't quite. But yeah, it was a great race, and that's definitely the one that sticks out for me.
Harvey, for you, what year would it be?
This might be the most bizarre thing I've said on this podcast, But 2019, even though Sebastian Vettel got robbed and Lewis Hamilton won, I very much enjoyed that race. You know, it's nice to see two, at the time, titans of the sport going wheel to wheel in two different cars, just giving it full beans. Yes, probably should have been a Sebastian Vettel victory, yeah. But that's been spoken about now for the past 4 years. Everyone's bored of it. No one cares anymore, apart from me. No, you knew it was a good race. I was still at school at the time, and I'd go in the next day buzzing. Just, you knew it was a good race when you went into school buzzing just to talk about it. And I believe that was the last race that was able to talk about at school, because I left like the next week or something. Anyway. No one cares about that, but it was a good race.
I most definitely am still salty about it, and I'll probably talk about it forever. But for me, obviously, being Polish, Robert Kubica stands out. 2008, his maiden win, his only win in the sport, and he was in a title battle that season. Unfortunately, came up short. But I mean, it was still a very good race that he won, and obviously, seeing him jump onto the top step in that BMW Sauber race suit, fantastic, brings back a lot of memories for me when I think I was 7 years old when that happened. So yeah, it was probably one of the earlier memories that I had of Formula One. But quickly, let's review our Spain predictions before making our Canada predictions. So Ethan, quickly give me your 2-star predictions. How did they go? Once again, did you get 0 out of 2?
Did get 0 out of 2. I went for Bottas to get into Q3, and he most definitely did not. And I got Tsunoda points, which he should have got points. We discussed this in our race review, but I feel a bit robbed there that I didn't get a point for Tsunoda getting points.
Well, the thing is, for me, I predicted more than 2 retirements. There were no DNFs, none at all, throughout that Grand Prix, which quite surprised me. And I had Tsunoda to finish 11th, and after the penalty, he finished 12th. So the thing is, you feel hard done by for not getting points for Tsunoda. I feel hard done by that he didn't finish 11th. So yeah, we both get 0 out of 2. Quali predictions, I only got Verstappen correct. Let's be fair. I think it was quite a surprising qualifying position, with obviously Verstappen getting pole position, Sainz second, Norris third, Gasly fourth, Hamilton fifth, and I predicted Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, Leclerc, Sainz. So I only got the 1 out of 5. How did you get on?
We had the exact same qualifying predictions. So I also got 1.
And then for the race, the actual race finished with Verstappen winning, Hamilton and Russell completing the podium, with Perez in 4th, Sainz in 5th, and I correctly predicted Verstappen and Sainz, with Perez, Leclerc, Alonso in the middle, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, which I did not get correct. Ethan?
Yeah, not much better. Actually, a lot worse for me. I got Verstappen to win, then Perez, Alonso, Hamilton, Leclerc, the rest of my top 5. So again, just the 1 point for me.
Okay, moving on to our final segment, our Canada race quali and race predictions. Let's start off with our 2-star predictions. Let's allow a special guest to start with. Is Harvey? Give us your 2-star predictions. What have you gone for?
What are the rules on the 2-star predictions? Because I could really, really cheat this and say that 5 lights will go out and the checkered flag will be waved.
Right. Okay. It's okay. Let's not do as basic as that. Star predictions, basically, what do you think will happen throughout the race or even qualifying? What are you predicting? Get your crystal ball out and see and imagine and picture the Canadian Grand Prix. What are you thinking?
I've not quite got a crystal ball, but I've got an empty bottle of cherry Coke. So I'm going to look into that, and I see a Red Bull sub 2-second pit stop during the race, and I also see 5 retirements.
Well, that's interesting. Ethan, your 2-star prediction?
I have Alpine to get double points. They've been in a good run of form, and I think that will continue. And then either a safety car or a red flag during the race.
And for myself, it kind of ruins my race predictions, but I mean, it is what it is. I've gone with Verstappen, Perez, Alonso podium in that order. I've gone for it again. And for my second one, I've gone Stroll to finish outside the top 10. I'm going bold, and I think the Canadian fans are not going to be impressed with his performance. As simple as that. Moving on to qualifying predictions, let's rattle straight through them. 1 to 5, I've gone Verstappen, Alonso to come second in quali ahead of Perez, Leclerc and Sainz 4th and 5th. Harvey, what are you predicting for qualifying?
I have gone for... Can you hear me? I've gone for Max Verstappen on pole, Fernando Alonso second, third Sergio Perez, fourth Charles Leclerc, and fifth George Russell. Pretty bog standard.
It's similar to me, Ethan.
I gone Verstappen and Perez 1 and 2. I gone for Hamilton third, Alonso fourth, Russell fifth.
Do you want to give us your race predictions straight off the bat?
Yeah, so I gone Verstappen. I'm throwing it out there. I gone for Hamilton second, Perez third, Alonso fourth, and Sainz fifth. I think Hamilton's been on a fantastic run of form and really shown his worth this season in particular.
And Harvey, have you thrown a Mercedes inside the top three?
Well, there's a Mercedes-powered car in there. I've gone for Verstappen, Grand Slam. May as well chuck it on there. Perez second, Alonso third, Russell fourth, and Carlos Sainz in fifth. Hamilton to be one of those retirements with engine blowout.
Wow. Okay. And for my race predictions, I've kind of ruined it from my 2-star predictions. I've gone with Verstappen to win the race, Perez in second, Alonso in third, Leclerc fourth, and I see Carlos Sainz being overtaken by Lewis Hamilton for LH44 to finish in fifth. But that's the end of the episode. Episode 17 done and dusted. We're looking forward to the Canadian Grand Prix. Thank you to Ethan and Harvey for joining me in this episode. We'll be back next week reviewing the Canadian Grand Prix. We won't be doing any predictions because we've now got a break ahead of Austria after next week. So we'll be back next week reviewing Canada, and then a week after that we'll probably be predicting Austria. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching all of our stuff, our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Thank you for all of that. Like I said, we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.